Speaking of that, since this is Senior Bowl, is this season four? Are we,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this
It's just, yeah.
okay?
I
An
was just thinking
arbitrary
about
date
that.
when we pick it, but yeah, I mean, I guess it could be Senior Bowl makes sense because we were
No,
doing like
it's,
reviewing stuff until right now. So
yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're not gonna, I mean, I feel like last year we did a lot of season review, and I feel like totally cool skipping that this year.
yeah.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty domination. How you doing over there, Daniel?
You know me, I cannot complain. I shall not complain. I'm rocking the the
The
Nick
Nick
Bolton.
Bolton, the
Yeah,
victory jersey.
yeah, man. I gotta get some iron on eights. Uh Upgrade this to a Snead jersey real quick. But
That'd be fun.
yeah, I'm feeling good, man. The fellas are going to the Super Bowl against the Niners, dude. What a
Yeah,
emotionally devastating NFC championship game.
it was tough. Yeah,
Ooh-wee.
everybody was on board and they just it's kind of like 28-3. Obviously not. It's not, but it felt similar to just kind of just collapse out of nowhere. And then I don't know, it was like everybody was sick of the Patriots then and wanted the Falcons to win. And then now everybody wanted the Lions to win. And then it just kind of fell apart. And yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Um,
28-3. At least Shanahan's on the other side this time.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Hey, they've knocked that monkey off their back twice now with the coming from behind with the victories. So maybe it is their year. I don't know that they compete against KC though. It's hard to bet against Mahomes and Andy Reid at this point.
Yeah. Now, if the defense plays like they did against Baltimore, it ought to be a
Yeah.
fun
Oh
game to
yeah.
watch for Chiefs fans.
Yeah, that defense. And that's man, that's how you keep that dynasty is it's like you go through waves. Okay, dominating offense. Now we got this defense that keeps us everywhere. It's impressive, if not tiresome.
Hey, I'm sure the rest of the country is definitely tuning out at this point,
Hey,
but the edge of the seat is occupied in my area.
oh, I'd be the same way. And as we get into it, my name's Christian. If you didn't know, I'm also
Oh,
wearing my second place jersey. That was a fun matchup between us. The throwback Jaden Reed, so that's pretty fun. I had to make a trade to get that done, but worth it.
hell
Um,
yeah.
so we are in season four. We've been doing this 4 years. Isn't that bananas? So we are starting. This is the new season. So we are starting from here on out. It's 2024 rookies until the draft, and then we're doing whatever we're going to do. But right now, this is our bread and butter. This is our year. So we're going to be setting you guys up for the round of 64 tournament that we're going to do in March and kicking it off with a little Senior Bowl preview. So we're going to do three profiles each on guys that we wanted to talk about going into the Senior Bowl. And at the end, I'll hit you with a little quick list of guys we're going to have our eyes on going into this week. So with all that being said, Daniel, you want to hit us with our first guy?
Yes. Okay. I'll hit you with the first guy. And I gotta say, first of all, this guy, I like him. I like him a lot. That's why I'm talking about him. I think there's going to be a lot of that going on. We're going to talk about guys we like. But this is Roman Wilson,
Mm,
okay?
hmm
This is a Michigan wide receiver who I think you guys are probably all fairly familiar with if you watch any of the national championship run. He got a couple of scores in the playoffs there. But it's kind of a weird guy. He's a kind of a low profile, high profile player.
hmm
And I guess I'll explain what I mean by that. But yeah, okay. So senior out of Michigan, he's right at 6 foot. and he's 186. No, he's like 5'10" and a half, 186. They lie on the sports reference, but then you go to the Senior Bowl and they make you actually get the
Yeah.
measurements accurate. So anyway, I've been watching this guy for a couple of weeks, and I like a lot about him. He's kind of like a really tough, feisty player,
Mm-hmm.
and I like him a lot because he's the kind of guy who's not necessarily the first read, but just stays after his routes and stays after it on the field in a
Mm-hmm.
way that he gets hit, late, because the protection was pretty good in Michigan, and so he just ended up with the ball as the play developed and nothing else was available.
Oh yeah.
So I really like him, but he's not exactly the easiest player to like articulate what makes
Mm-hmm.
him different. Um, but I just have this feeling, and it really reminds me of how I felt about Elijah Moore,
Okay.
and that he's very sure-handed, and just like I was saying, like just stays with the play
Mm-hmm.
and helps this quarterback out. So I don't know. Between that and he's got great moves at the line of scrimmage, really quick, and he gets inside and does a lot of like pushing and pulling up the route to give
Mm-hmm.
himself enough space and put
Mm-hmm.
himself like he's really good at putting himself where he wants to be to make it an easy pass for the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So the separation might not be miles, but like it's more of a leverage type of route running. And it was showcased, I thought, in a major way in the one-on-one drills for day one of the Senior Bowl. And Twitter noticed quite a bit. They were talking about him, and so on the second day, they gave him a tougher matchup, and he still ended up doing pretty well. Um, but you're not going to find any banging production on the stats when you're looking
Mm-hmm.
at his college profile. He was with Michigan for 4 years and played in 44 games, and it totaled only 107 catches for 1,707 yards.
Mm.
That's over 4 years.
Damn.
Not really a baller stat line at all. But he did have 20 touchdowns, which I thought was pretty good, And in those 4 years, he only had one game over 100 yards and only three games over five catches. So to say he was like underutilized, this is kind of a recurring theme with the Michigan wide receivers. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not exactly what they're about. Um, but I like what he did this past year. He had a 789 yards and 12 touchdowns on
Mm.
only 48 catches. So you're
Pretty
telling me
good.
that one in every four catches is a touchdown. That's pretty awesome. It's actually half of all the passing touchdowns or receiving touchdowns for the Wolverines. So he was pretty dominant in that field for the team. And even though it's only 789 receiving yards, that's still 25% of the team's passing work went through him. So he's a solid guy. I think he's probably going to get slept on a little bit just because the production was low, but he's aggressive, man. And he has like a level of like dedication and just I don't know, just feel for the game that is
Mm-hmm.
pretty evident when you watch him out on the field. So I think he's going to make a nice little slot receiver out there in the NFL, man. That's my personal opinion.
I'm kind of with you. I think he's really fast off the line of scrimmage and he has really, really nice hands. And you were saying that he reminds you of Elijah Moore in the way that like you couldn't quantify like what stood out about him necessarily. I kind of felt it reminded me of Amon Ra, honestly. Like he's not like the fastest guy in the world, but he's always just seems to find a way to get open and like he just finds the hole in the zone somewhere and he's able to convert on the catch. Like you say, he sometimes it's late. And you're right, but he's always there to just make that catch and make that last adjustment. Now, I don't think maybe he can go to the heights of quite Amon Ra. Like he's probably the standard of what you would want out of a player like that. But I think
Right.
that's a similar type role that he could find, like this PPR kind of monster, maybe not monster, but like this PPR dependable receiver over the middle because he is tough. Like he absolutely punches people in the run blocking game, man. Just like throws up both hands and throws them backwards. And like I really like him a lot. I think he's like one of those really, really tough players who's going to make a role for himself in the NFL. We'll have to see like where he lands, where the draft capital is. I feel like he's a guy that we need to remember not to let the combine stress us out too much about, because it's not like it doesn't matter. Like that's not part of it's not that it doesn't matter, but it's not like where he wins is not through
Right.
athleticism and stuff. So like even if he's not the fastest guy, even if he can't jump the highest or whatever, that's not how he was winning anyway. So
Mhm.
kind of a guy that we keep in mind for that kind of stuff, I think.
Yeah, yeah, you really have to watch him play. There's nothing on paper that's going to single him out
Mm-mm.
as having the edge, but he plays, and
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how deep did you go on him? Did you hear he used to have to take a plane to high school?
Oh no, I didn't know about this.
It doesn't really matter. He's from Hawaii. He
Okay.
had to like
Oh,
fly
like
to a
fly to
different
the high
island
school.
for
Yeah, fly
the
to a different island. Yeah, there
yeah.
was
So
when I was doing air traffic control, there's a place in Hawaii that's like that. Like you basically live out there, but if you want to go do anything, you have to fly to another island, but that's where the airport is or whatever. So
huh.
pretty interesting. So for my first guy, you want to get into a little nepotism?
Oh, well, if you start, I'll follow. Go ahead.
Okay, let's do some nepotism. All right, so I did Brendan Rice, son of legendary wide receiver Jerry Rice, if you did not
Oops.
know. Wide receiver out of USC. He was listed at 6'3", but this week he was just over 6 foot at 6'7", 6 foot 7'8", 7 inch, and 212. So a little bit shorter than that, but still not not that big a deal, I don't think, personally. The only thing that I can say necessarily negative about him is he's only had like 1 year of really good production, and that was 12 touchdowns this year. He's not had 1,000 yard season yet in college, which isn't great. He did transfer to USC. He's done 2 years at USC, and he they were better. But my thing with him, I think he's raw. I think he has a lot of potential, and I'd like to see where he goes. If he goes like in the mid rounds to a team that I think is offensively creative and kind of can work on these wide receivers, I think it could really work. He's got really, really nice, like I wouldn't say it's like super polished route running, but his cuts are super aggressive and they are super sharp, and they can just make him fly off the ball. There were a couple times like I feel like he got missed by Caleb Williams or isn't fast enough, so that's kind of the other issue with him maybe. But like he did a nice little stop and go against Nevada this year and had completely beaten the wide receiver. It would have been like I don't remember exactly, but like 50, 60 yard touchdown. And they just didn't connect on the throw, but he was open and he seems to be open quite a bit. I think he runs really strong with the ball in his hand too. And he's a decent blocker. If he gets his hands on you, he's good. He's really good, and he can throw people around, but he does seem to whiff occasionally. Where like if somebody's quicker than him, he'll kind of reach out and he'll get left in the dust. And a few times on tape, it led to like a loss or at least like the runner getting hit earlier than he needed to. But again, that's like a polish thing. Like if you know because he's good, once he hits you, you can't get away from him seemingly. But it just needs to work on that reaction better and not being beat like that. And like you were saying about uh, Ramon Wilson, Brendan Rice, dude, he stays working. That's his thing is he stays working for the ball, trying to find the open spot for his quarterback against Nevada. Again, is a really good game for him. He was out on the left, like wide left. They're on the 13-yard line. He goes up after the play starts. He's like trying to beat the receiver up. He goes to the left corner of the end zone. Caleb Williams starts running out right. So he just runs all the way across the end zone, all the way across the other side of the field, and ends up catching a touchdown in the right front corner of the end zone, just working into that free open zone. And he like ran in front of two other UFC receivers that like weren't moving forward. And so like that's the kind of stuff you want to see out of a receiver. Like he is going to get the ball. He's going to find somewhere that he can get the ball. But I wouldn't say he has like elite separation skills yet. I think he has the tools that could get him there. I think he has good footwork and like I said he has really strong cuts. And if somebody can like get him and kind of work him and teach him how to do it, like exactly what they do in the NFL, I think it could end up being pretty substantially great. I mean, like there are games where he absolutely carved up Arizona State for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I honestly think they left a quite a bit on the table. Like there were a few misses, a few times where he was wide open and either there was a sack or Williams didn't see him or whatever. So I think there's a lot of potential here. This one, I think we got to wait and see like where he goes, because I think he could be one of these guys that like if he gets in the wrong hands, maybe it doesn't work out as great. But I do think there's a chance here for him to be maybe special.
Yeah, yeah, I like that maybe special. I like watching him play, man. He seemed like he had pretty good straight line speed, and the way he ran with the football in his hands was really like intelligent. You know, his angles
Hmm.
just like headed straight for the pylons. Like he knew how to kind of maneuver to keep himself away from the defense. So
Hmm.
I thought it was a lot of fun to watch him.
Yeah.
Jerry's boy. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely getting an opportunity. I love the gold number two, man.
Hmm.
He looked like a pretty badass dude out there. I
Oh
wasn't,
yeah.
yeah, I felt like immediately I was in on him. So
Hmm.
that's where I'm going.
He kind of reminded me, maybe not a equal comparison, but I remember thinking a lot about like when I was watching tape on David Moore, out of Purdue. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like just a
David Bell.
similar, or sorry, David Bell. That's right. I knew that sounded wrong. Yeah, David Bell out of Purdue, like just that strong play style where he's like always involved and he's always like working his way to the ball. Like it reminded me a lot of David Bell. I think
I can
Rice
see
is
that.
probably a better athletically, but like
I hope
um
so for his sake. David Bell. Come
yeah.
on.
But yeah, I'm excited to see where Rice ends up going.
Me too. I think that's going to be fun. Yeah, it was kind of a down year for USC, but he definitely was looking pretty strong. I like that 12 touchdowns. Can't complain about it.
Mm-mm.
So, all right. Well, I'll get into my next guy. I'm gonna go to the running back room real quick. Uh, Kamani Vidal. Have you heard about this guy?
Have you seen
He's
this? Have you
pretty
heard about
strong.
this?
I don't, yeah, man. What are you gonna do? He's out of Troy. He had like the second most rushing yards
Mm,
in college football this year, which is not necessarily a good thing when it comes to like Trey McBride's and
mm,
your yeah, Muhammad Ibrahim's and your like apparently being a high volume guy. Who's the guy that went to Green Bay? It was like Lou Nichols the second or whatever.
oh yeah, Lewis Nichols the second. Yeah.
Yeah, like that guy was a stud in the 22 season
And then just
or
nothing.
21 season.
Hmm.
I've paid too much attention to too many things that didn't matter at this point. This is not one of those things.
Mm,
Okay. So this guy's out of Troy. You're getting pretty excited about him. Um, and I love the feet, man. This guy was just one of those keeps the feet chugging kind of dudes that just made you happy, no matter what
hmm.
was going on. And it was nice to see it wasn't all like movement, it wasn't all agility, it was a lot of power, like driving feet, driving
Hmm.
power. And the thing with him is uh I don't think it's going to be one of those like blow you away at the combine with the speed metrics thing.
Hmm.
But he's not slow, so I think you just got to keep an eye on the agility drills because he really does move through plays in a pretty nice way. I'd say it's like reminiscent of like a shifty kind of running back, but also he has the bell cow size. So
Hmm.
he's coming in at 5'7" and 5'8" at, at 215. So we like that 215.
That's a
That's a
good
pretty
number.
bulky number right
Mm,
there, especially for being under 5'8". So I like that size. I like the powerhouse that he is. Um, but yeah, I mean, kind of like we're doing here. This is super early in our prospecting process, so I'm trying to stay away from getting like too hooked too early
Yeah.
on these guys.
Uh-huh.
But I really do think Vidal is one of those guys that it's going to have a lot of future relevance. So Troy's not like a huge school, it's coming
Mm,
out of the Sun Belt Conference.
mhm,
Um, but I mean, he had some really outstanding games. Like he had this game against App State, it was 233 yards and 5 touchdowns, and it's just disgusting.
mhm,
So the thing with small school guys that have like blow up games and end up with big stat lines. He also had, there's 8 games under 3 yards per carry over his 4 year career, which kind of like bumps me out, like
mhm,
I don't want to see you have a nice total at the end of the year, but then you had all these games that were lackluster. Was it
mhm,
competition dependent? Were these blowout games where you were
mhm,
just running off with these big chunk plays? So I dove into it a little bit. And every single season, all 4 years, he had multiple games over 100 yards. So that's nice to see that consistency and to go further into the production. So he had 48 total games in these 4 years, and 15 of them had workloads of over 20 carries, and only 4 of those 15 games resulted in fewer than 100 yards. So it's like
okay,
when he gets the workload, he gets the production.
mhm,
So I don't know. 8 games under 3 yards per carry is kind of a little rough, but it doesn't matter because what I saw on the film was great. I really liked watching him run. I thought he read his blocks really well, and he
mhm,
bounced outside in like a really efficient and effective way. And in the open field, he, to me, he looks like a rear wheel drive car with a big engine on a wet road. Like the ass end is just like sliding around everywhere, but the upper body is still steering and he's like still in control, you know what I mean? But it was just crazy just watching like the power and the speed really combined to make, I don't know, man, a beautiful runner is what I saw. And the power, he took it all the way through contact. Um, you see sometimes big guys, when they get hit, they just slow down or they stop pretty quick if they can't, take it in the stride. But he managed to always lower his shoulder and kind of power through,
mhm,
almost like he was into the contact. So I really like watching him. The one thing I'll say is he only had 92 catches in 4 years. But on some of those film, the catches looked really good.
yeah,
Like he was able to take some of those catches and make them work pretty well. And he's actually, I've watched an interview of him at the Senior Bowl practice, and he was talking about like how his passing skills weren't on showcase at Troy, and that like passing to the running back wasn't really a focal point of that offense. And
mhm,
so he is excited to showcase that a little bit through the Senior Bowl. And then like he had a play where he caught a pass
mhm,
when they were doing the full team practice reps, and I mean he made something happen with that ball in his hand. So it's the way he catches a ball, is very natural
mhm,
for a guy who didn't really wasn't asked to do it very often. So I think that he's going to be a bit of a sleeper in that department. And I thought it was kind of cool that he like immediately called it out. Like
mhm,
this is something that I can do very well, despite not having been asked to
yeah,
do it. And so,
mhm.
so I don't know. I got a little pumped about him.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you're saying. Like, yeah, he didn't have a lot of targets, but he caught 18 of 22 for 200 yards. So
Mhm.
it's not like he wasn't effective. They just didn't use him. And what you're saying about him, the way he catches the ball, it's so natural. Everything he does is kind of smooth. Like it's just, I don't know. I like, I'm with you. I like his running style. He's a very like kind of pretty runner, if you want to use a term like that. And I'm with you. I don't think he'll blow you away with like the speed metrics, but I think he's a guy that's going to score really high in burst because I think he clears 7 yards in a blink of an eye. like
Right.
immediately. He just doesn't have like that top end speed, but honestly, that's not that bad. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you can't take something 95 yards to the house because a safety is going to, or a corner is going to catch him or something. But that ability to go from zero to full speed instantaneously is just as effective. And it's why he's able to get around the outside. It's why he is able to hit all these holes and get so far before anybody even knows what's going on, seemingly. So no, I'm with you. He's an explosive runner. It's fun to watch. The thing about this draft class is it's very tight, wide receiver heavy. There's
Yep.
a lot of like really, really strong wide receivers in this class. And I feel like the running backs, there's just a big mix, and you're gonna find a lot of really good value. I think specifically in the second round of rookie drafts this year, because so many wide receivers are gonna go in the first, and people are kind of iffy. And I think like I'm with you. If this guy gets like the early draft capital, he'd be worth that type of pick, because he's explosive, because he could be one of the breakout running backs of this class. So no, I think he was a name I wasn't familiar with going into this week, but I'm gonna have my eye on him for sure. Kiami Vidal. He's an interesting prospect. I'm excited.
Heck yeah.
Um, I'll keep us on the running back train, and let's go with a little bit bigger. Let's go Ray Davis out of Kentucky, 5'8", 228 pounds. He lined up in the Senior Bowl. Looks faster than you would think at 228 pounds. And he's a dual threat, man. He had 21 total touchdowns in 2023, which can't be ignored. 7 through the air, 14 on the ground. He transferred twice, actually. He transferred from Temple to Vanderbilt and then Vanderbilt to Kentucky. I don't think you see that very often. 5 years in college also, so he's a little bit older. But he picked up right where he left off when he got to Kentucky. Picked up with 1,000 yards. He just did that at Vanderbilt the year before. I think he has really, really, really strong vision. Like this dude, he seems like he immediately sees where he needs to go, and he can make one cut to always get there. And he just really, really sound at finding the hole. He was one of the more impressive guys that I've watched so far at simply just the vision aspect, in my opinion. He can take over a game if you let him. 280 yards and 3 touchdowns he had against Florida this year. Just completely annihilated them. However, like you were talking about, he does have some of these dud weeks. 26 yards against Alabama, 59 yards against Georgia, 52 yards against Eastern Kentucky. That's the one that really is
Who?
like, whoa, what? Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, Alabama, Georgia, I'll give you. Eastern Kentucky. Ooh, what are we doing? But I think he's a super smooth runner. He makes his cuts look super easy, but the burst that he comes off of them with is like deadly. I think he's really hard to take down as well. And like I said, he moves pretty quickly for 228 pounds. Um, and I just think that dual threat ability, I mean, like kind of like what we were talking about just now with Kiami Vidal, Ray Davis only had 39 targets, but he had 32 catches for 324 yards and 7 touchdowns off 32 catches. So you're talking about highly productive when he's getting the ball, especially in terms of touchdowns. I mean, that's a really, really high turnaround rate. You're talking almost 4 to 1 or whatever. But um, yeah, I like him a lot. I think there's running backs are gonna go earlier than we expect. Like there's gonna probably be a couple in the second, maybe not, but definitely in the third and fourth round. And I could see Ray Davis going in the third or fourth round. I wouldn't mind him on a team like Baltimore. I think would be really, really strong for his running style and the ability to kind of break out and catch passes from Lamar. So that would be like kind of top tier for me. I think that would work a lot, but I really like him, man. 1,100 yards on the ground this year, over 1,000 last year, 14 total touchdowns on the ground. I mean, he was productive, and that bigger play style that maybe a lot of that teams always want to have, even if he plays second fiddle to a guy or if he becomes the one guy, but he's going to be used in the goal line or situations. Like he has a nose for the end zone with 21 over the last year. So yeah, I like him, man. I'm getting spicy on these running backs.
Oh, dude, bring the spice. That's where we need it. I liked him too, man. I really enjoyed the power, especially at the goal line, like you were saying.
Hmm.
And his just yeah, his reads and his decision making just seem really good. I don't want to get weird, but he really, when I watched him, I was seeing like, I was seeing that powder blue. I was seeing Javante a
Mm,
lot on the
okay.
film, and so I try to, like I said, man, I'm trying not to go head over heels for these guys. Um,
Not yet.
right, yeah, we'll save it to March or something, But I got to tell you, everything you're saying, like there's a lot of the stars. I mean, there's not a lot of stars in this running back class.
Hmm.
You got Travion Henderson went back to
Yep.
Ohio State for like his 12th year or whatever. So it's gonna be some of these guys getting opportunities because the
Hmm.
NFL needs
Yeah.
running backs, man. We talked about them aging out pretty hard. Um, and they haven't been replenished that well. So
Hmm.
I don't know. A guy like this is going to probably get an opportunity quick.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are going to be in the running back market, and they're going to want to be in that market for cheap as well, as we've seen the trend. I mean, I think a team like Green Bay is going to take a running back in this draft. I don't think there's any doubt about it to
Of
me.
course.
And so, like, that's a spicy landing spot for a running back, regardless. Like, Aaron Jones is aging out eventually, and Matt LaFleur loves to run the ball. So, somebody getting advantage, taking advantage of like somebody landing there and maybe not having the value associated with a top tier running back. I mean, look at Aaron Jones. He was a fourth or fifth round pick. I think it was fourth.
I think it's
Um,
fourth. Yeah.
yeah, so he's a fourth round pick. It's not like he was going in the front end of rookie drafts. He may have been going in the third round because Jamal
Right.
Williams was a round earlier than him. And so you never know. And I think it could some of these guys are going to break out. Absolutely. They're going to get an opportunity at a position with a high turnover rate with injuries. And you just want to be able to take advantage of some of them.
Right. Oof. I don't know, man. I'm pretty pumped about him. I'm pretty pumped about him. Sorry, my skepticism was because I knew I have to speak next. And
You're
it's gonna
good.
be it's not gonna go well. I'm over here psyching myself out about what I've gotten myself into. We picked our own names, everybody. Okay, I chose to do this to myself. So you guys just stick with me. Just stick with me. We're gonna make it through this one. I'm doing Luke McCaffrey.
Hmm.
Okay. I don't know if you guys know about this guy. He's a wide receiver out of Rice, 6'1.5", right about 200 pounds. And, he's doing fine. He had 992 yards and 13 touchdowns. Pretty good, little 14 yard average on there and 71 catches. Not too shabby, until you look at a couple of other things about the guy. Sometimes you start doing your research and then you find out the truth about somebody. But I'll tell you because you guys trust us for this kind of information. But he was 15th or top 18 in college targets. So that's a pretty good thing to be. It's not great to only have 71 catches when you get well over 100 targets,
Hmm.
but that's okay. That's okay. What else can we tell you about the guy? He used to play quarterback. Okay. He was a five-star recruit to the University of Nebraska to play the quarterback position. And yeah, that's not bad. It didn't work out for him. Didn't work out for him. So after a couple of years, he transferred over to Rice and started playing, quarterback as his first season. And then they're like, "This ain't gonna work, buddy. We're gonna go ahead and make you a receiver." And so the past 2 years only, he's been a receiver, and he's been very productive as a receiver. His Christian McCaffrey's brother. So let's see. Besides that, what else is going on? Ed McCaffrey's son. Holy shit. All right. Maybe those things will come in handy for him. Um, Honestly, watching the guy, I like his I just liked the way he caught the ball. Like
Hmm.
he didn't get separation
Mm-mm.
consistently, like
Mm-mm.
at all. But like damn if he couldn't pull a ball down. It was
That's
fun
fun.
just watching like the focus on the catch and
Hmm.
whatever. There's stuff. I got thrown off by the Christian McCaffrey brother thing. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but um, yeah, what is this guy's name? Odunze from
Yeah.
Washington.
Odunze. Yeah.
Odunze, yeah. He's the only wide receiver in all of college to have more contested catches
Hmm.
than Luke McCaffrey this
Hmm.
past year. So that's something to hang your hat on, right?
Oh
He had
yeah.
17 contested catches.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive on 28 contested targets.
Yeah.
So 60%. We're looking more at an impressive volume rather than the
Mm-hmm.
rate of catch. And
Mm-hmm.
only two drops though. Only two drops. All right. So just because he got 120 targets and 50 of those targets didn't end up as catches, only had two drops.
Yeah.
So that's good. It's the hands. It's got those hands. Um, a PFF stat that I'm not always looking out for is the interception number
Mm-hmm.
for wide receivers. So it's like a receiving interception,
Mm-hmm.
where the receiver gets blamed for
Blamed.
the
Yeah.
interception.
Hmm.
Um, he had 10 of those.
Oof.
That's like a huge number.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
pretty
big.
large number. No one else is doing that. He is the leader in
Hmm.
receiving
That's not great.
interceptions for college. So you gotta give him that. But his PFF grade, he was like 28th graded receiving score for guys over 30 targets. So that's not bad, top 30. He's doing good. I will say that um, when he gets the ball, like a clean catch, a little bit of space, he can get upfield really quickly.
Mm.
He does take a little bit of extra physicality with him for a guy that's only, 6'1", 200 pounds. He can really put the shoulder down when it comes to when he has a full head of steam. If he is not getting the separation, which he's not known for, and someone tackles him right after he catches the ball, that's pretty much it. But he did have 6 yards after the catch per reception. So that's not nothing. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think, he'll probably. I feel like no one would really be that serious about him if his last name was McCorkle or something. That's a Mac Jones joke, I guess. Um, but yeah, his name is McCaffrey, and yeah, he's gonna probably end up in the NFL.
Oh yeah, he'll end up on a roster, and I mean, you kind of highlighted what I saw from him. He's got concentration, like regardless of like contact and stuff. I mean, two times back-to-back weeks he caught touchdowns while having his helmet knocked off, which seems to happen all the time for
Yeah,
him.
he
I
had
don't know why it
three or
happened all the time.
four helmet
Yeah,
losses in what I was watching.
yeah, it's weird. But and so like you're saying, the separation skills, meh. He's just been converted to wide receiver, so maybe he can work on that and become more well versed. His speed is maybe lacking for the NFL. But I mean, if he goes up and he competes for the ball. So like he
Mhm.
is gonna try, like you said, he had 28 contested targets. That's not great because you want more separation than always having your targets contested. But I didn't, you never know. There's kind of factors everywhere. But I do think he does concentrate, like he does keep the ball in mind. He does work on his body control and keeping
Yeah,
himself in bounds and stuff. So there are areas that I think he can improve on and kind of like become a role player in the NFL for sure. I don't know like where I see him fantasy wise necessarily, probably not
yeah,
hyper relevant. Maybe like seeing, depending on draft stock and everything. Obviously, we've got a long way to go before we can really narrow down these guys' rankings and stuff. But he's a player, like he can play. I don't know that he's going to be highly, highly productive necessarily in the NFL.
so.
Um, but he's going to get a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to get this out of the way. I had to rip the Band-Aid off with this Christian McCaffrey brother thing. I will say one thing. If the Carolina Panthers draft him in the second round,
Hmm.
don't take the bait.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, let's finish this out with one more running back. One guy I am pretty excited about actually. It's Dylan LaBey out of New Hampshire. So honestly, my biggest complaint about him is competition coming out of the FCS because he's playing a lot of schools where it's not a lot of hyper talent that going to make it to the NFL. And that could sometimes makes people look better than they are. However, he still would have led the entire country in running back targets if he was not just in the FCS. I mean, he did, but they separate it. And holy versatility, man. Over 1,400 all-purpose yards and over 15 touchdowns in back-to-back seasons. He's getting work in one-on-one drills with the wide receivers this week in Senior Bowl week, and he's winning those reps. Maybe not every rep necessarily, but he is winning reps against corners, against people that maybe he shouldn't be as a running back. He had a lower rushing total this season with only 708 yards, but he went for 1,200 the year before and 15 touchdowns on the ground. I think he has a nice combination of vision and acceleration, both behind the line of scrimmage and especially in the passing game. I think he can be an absolute weapon as a receiver. He just like he catches these screen passes, and it seems like he knows exactly the flow of where the blocking is going to lead him, and he's already on it, just going, going, going. And he makes these screens look really nice. He's got nice speed. I don't know that he's got like the elite crazy speed, but he's explosive. He's got burst. He's got good size as well, like 210, but he runs a little stronger than that. He seems a little harder to take down. Again, that's a competition thing. Like he seems to be blowing past people, but it's like, how fast are those? But honestly, like to me, you remember Danny Woodhead?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
remember imagine if he was a little bit bigger and stronger and way more explosive. And that's what I think this guy is. And on the scale of like, and I know, okay, white dude running backs, whatever, but like Christian
Oh
McCaffrey would
yeah.
be the top tier. And then like if Danny Woodhead's like somewhere here, I think Labe could fit somewhere in the middle there. Like, obviously we got to see the combine metrics. We got to see where he goes in the draft. It's a tiny school in New Hampshire, FCS. Like this could be one of those running backs that I'm getting excited about and doesn't end up doing much. Because of that, I've seemed to always find two or three small school guys that I get attached to. But man, he's fun. He is so fun to watch. He only had 25 more forced missed tackles this year, but last year he had 75. Um, just going off. And I know you need to take the most recent year typically, especially for an older guy. I think it's 4 or 5 years. It's definitely at least four, but he might have been 5 years in college already. But yeah, man, I really like the way he plays, and especially in today's NFL where you have all these offenses that want to be able to throw to running backs. They want to be able to have running backs run out with their quarterback and be a dump off option. Like he can be that for sure. And I think he's gonna land on an offense like if he gets taken by a team that doesn't throw to running backs, it's gonna be the biggest crime in the draft to me because it would just be clear that this team did not evaluate correctly if they're not going to throw him the ball because he is such a weapon in the passing game. Um, I don't know, man. I'm excited, especially like PPR leagues. You could find this guy like maybe he's not going to be top 10 RB or something, but like if he could potentially be top 20 or top 15 for you in PPR leagues, like that could be dangerous for you.
Well, the thing is, he's too big to be one of those receiving scat guys.
Yeah.
Like he's going to get out there and he's going to do a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And then he's going to end up staying on the field. I was really upset that you picked this guy because I watch a lot of his stuff. I did a lot of research on this guy before I was like, what the hell? Damn, he beat me to him. So, when someone comes out of West Hampton Beach, I am on it. I need to know more about this guy. So everything you said is 100% true, and it's important. But I think there's some things that you didn't say
Okay.
that are also important about this guy. He was the Phil Steele Special Teams Player of the Year. He was the CAA Special Teams Player of the Year. And I know if you watched some of his film, you saw him out there returning kicks.
Hmm.
And he had a return touchdown in the kick return and in the punt return game, both this past season and the previous season. The guy is pretty serious, man. He had, yeah, 467 yards on 15 kick returns. That's an average of 31. So
Damn.
I think that someone's going to see that. They're going to notice that when they're
Hmm.
doing a little bit of looking. And he might end up on a team, on a roster just because of that. And then get the opportunities, like we always say. This is how it goes. I've got him clocked at 6 years in college.
Okay.
So I love to see that, but it was a red shirt that 2018 year, and I don't know how junior colleges do things in New Hampshire. Just joking, University of New Hampshire, but he could have started when he was 14, and he's still 20 now. So I
Yeah.
could be wrong. Who knows?
We're still in that weird stage where birth dates are hard to come by. And I get it. They're ostensibly children, so maybe not knowing all their information. I understand why it's hard to get, but
It's
we are
true.
still in that weird situation where we don't know how old some of these guys are.
No. But
So,
I do know his neck is thicker than his ear width.
yeah.
So this guy seems serious to me, and I'm going to take him seriously.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited to see where he lands. I think there's a chance that he could spice up that running back lot. I think a few of these guys could. And on that note, that's our wrap up for today as far as our profiles. We're going to be hitting you next week with a Senior Bowl review. We're going to be hitting a couple profiles on some guys after the Senior Bowl, talking about what they did in the Senior Bowl, all of that. But before we get out of here, I want to hit you with just a list of names that RDR, Rough Draft Research, is going to be keeping an eye on during Senior Bowl week. So we got a couple
100%.
quarterbacks in Bo Nix, QB out of Oregon, and Michael Penix Jr., QB out of Washington. I think they're pretty obvious people to keep your eye on. I've got Marshawn Lloyd, running back out of USC, has already been popping on my X feed, I guess. It still sounds dirty and weird. And I mean, like, not dirty. Oh, they changed it. Like, it literally sounds like a porn site. Like, oh, let me show you this X thing. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Don't
Marshawn
click
Lloyd's
on
been
it.
blowing up already. I've been seeing him, so I want to check him out more. Isaiah Davis, running back out of South Dakota State, also
Bills.
going to have my eye on. Cody Schrader, running back out of Missouri. We've got him pegged as well. And then getting to receivers, we got Lad McConkey out of Georgia, Ricky Pearsall out of Florida, Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky, Xavier Legette, wide receiver out of South Carolina, is actually kind of the opposite, trending downward so far this weekend. So let's keep an eye on that, see if he can come back up. Nia Smith, wide receiver out of Texas A&M, and Johnny Wilson, wide receiver out of Florida State. That is the RDR watch list for the Senior Bowl. And obviously, lots of great other players. And I didn't mention a tight end. So we've got more and more to come. So hopefully, you'll join us next week. This is where we really get our groove going. This is the beginning of season 4, and we want to see you all join us with you and see us at that March Madness tournament. But
Oh
until
yeah.
then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
I took a lease out on